So, statistics actually show that the average person is going to change careers between like 5 to 7 times over their lifetime.
Wow. Yeah, that is a lot.
Right. But honestly, I mean, it makes total sense when you look at our modern culture. We are just completely obsessed with this idea of the fresh start.
Oh, absolutely. The clean slate.
Exactly. Like, for you listening, have you ever had one of those months where you just feel this overwhelming, almost frantic urge to just pack up your entire life?
I think we all have, yeah.
Yeah, that sudden fantasy of moving to a completely new city where literally no one knows your name. Or, blowing up your daily routine, just quitting your job and pivoting to an entirely different industry.
Right, because we buy into this really pervasive belief that if we just change the container of our life, you know,
Huh.
like the zip code or the job title or even the relationship status,
Yeah, like the contents inside that container will just magically reorganize themselves into something better.
which is such an incredibly common human impulse. And I mean, it's largely driven by how overwhelmed we get when our lives feel out of alignment.
Totally.
We look around, we feel stuck, and because our physical environment is, well, it's the easiest thing to actually see, we just assume the scenery is the entire problem.
Right. We point at the office building and say, that's the issue.
Exactly. We convince ourselves, like, if I can just get out of this corporate office or if I could just leave this specific town, I will finally be the person I am supposed to be.
Yeah.
We are essentially treating a really complex psychological condition with a purely geographical cure.
Which, spoiler alert, almost never works the way we think it will.
No, it really doesn't.
And that tension, that exact feeling, is what brings us to the mission of our deep dive today. We are exploring this truly powerful piece of writing by Dr. Nomasonto Ntsele.
Yes, she is a sacred relationship healer, and her insights here are just incredible.
They really are. And the piece we are analyzing today is titled, You Can Never Run Away from Yourself, for You Take Yourself Everywhere You Go.
That title alone just hits you right in the chest.
It really does. So our goal today is to discover why compartmentalizing our lives into these neat little disconnected boxes, like our work box, our hobby box, our healing box.
Right, keeping everything separate.
Exactly. Why doing that might actually be making us miss the most important, glaring clues about our true purpose.
And, what makes her approach so compelling is that she doesn't start with some grand, sweeping, philosophical declaration about the universe or human nature.
No, not at all.
Right? She grounds this massive psychological realization
Yeah.
in something so mundane, so remarkably everyday, that you or I would probably just walk right past it.
We totally would. Okay, let's unpack this because the ordinary thing you are referencing is literally just an old damaged cosmetic bag.
Just a little makeup bag.
Yeah, that is the catalyst for this entire epiphany. So Dr. Ntsele writes about having this little cosmetic bag that had just gotten torn up over time. It was frayed, it was ruined, and, visibly well beyond its prime.
We all have items exactly like that lying around.
Yeah, right. Now, for the vast majority of us living in this modern, convenience-driven society, our reflex is incredibly predictable.
Toss it out.
Exactly. We toss it in the trash without a second thought. We go online, we buy a new one for like $10, and it arrives the very next day.
The consumer reflex, it's just so ingrained in us.
It really is. But she didn't follow that reflex.
No, she had a completely different instinct. The immediate impulse to discard and replace, it just wasn't there for her.
Yeah.
And to understand why, I mean, we really have to look at the mechanics of what she actually did instead.
Right. So she says that rather than throwing it away, the, quote, knitter inside of her quietly came alive.
I love that phrasing.
Me too. She looked beyond the torn fabric on the outside, like the superficial damage, and she actually noticed the underlying structure of the bag, the frame, bones of the thing. It was still entirely intact.
Right, it still had its shape.
Yeah. So she systematically stripped away the damaged part. She kept that old frame, and she decided to create something entirely new around it. She literally rebuilt it, thread by thread, stitch by stitch.
Wow.
And it's actually worth noting, she mentions later in the text that she applies this exact same process to discarded plastics, finding a way to turn environmental waste into something beautiful.
What's fascinating here is the process she is describing is deeply intentional, and it speaks volumes about cognitive framing.
How so?
Well, she isn't just slapping a temporary patch over a hole to make it functional again, right? She is recognizing the structural integrity of this object. She's honoring its foundation and then entirely reimagining the expression of that foundation.
Ah, I see.
Yeah, she essentially separates the essence of the bag from its current broken state.
I was trying to picture the mechanics of this earlier, and it made me think about technology.
Okay, tell me more.
Well, it's like looking at an outdated smartphone, right? Most of us just see a slow, frustrating device, so we throw it in a junk drawer and go buy the newest model.
Oh, guilty as charged, definitely.
Right. But a software engineer looks at that exact same phone, they wipe the old operating system, and they install a custom Linux build or something.
Oh, that is a great analogy.
Yeah, because they see that the hardware, the motherboard, the processor, it is still perfectly capable of doing something completely different if you just change the code running on it. They see the potential of the frame, not the limitation of the current software.
Exactly. And what's really beautiful here is the psychological shift she experiences the moment she finishes reimagining this cosmetic bag.
The moment it's done.
Right. She sits back, she looks at this newly created object, and the realization just hits her. She understands in a flash that she wasn't just repairing fabric or, practicing a cute hobby.
She was doing something deeper.
Yes. She was doing what she has always done throughout her entire life, seeing possibility where other people see a definitive ending. She was seeing hidden structure beneath what appeared to be entirely broken chaos.
Wow. So the realization actually had nothing to do with knitting or crafting at all.
Precisely. It had absolutely everything to do with her internal architecture.
Her own mind.
Yes. The cosmetic bag was basically functioning as a mirror, reflecting her own psychological mechanisms right back to her. She realized, oh, this is how my brain works. This is how my spirit operates.
That's incredible.
It's just this beautifully tangible example of recognizing your own operating system, but in a totally low-stakes environment.
Right, because fixing a makeup bag is certainly a low-stakes weekend project. But Dr. Ntsele doesn't stop there. She takes this exact same lens, this brand new understanding of her internal operating system, and she applies it to something with much higher stakes.
Her own life story.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which brings us to how we all tend to view our own resumes and our own life trajectories.
Yes, she moves from the physical object sitting on her table to the overarching psychological patterns that have basically defined her personal history.
Yeah.
She begins to critically examine this illusion of the fragmented self.
And, when you look at her background, you can completely see why she felt fragmented.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, if you read her resume without any context, it honestly looks like 6 different people lived her life.
It really does.
She works with women to heal period pains. She has navigated her own highly personal, very difficult diagnosis of endometriosis. She writes these profound spiritual reflections. She interprets dreams. She coaches individuals. And on top of all of that, she used to work in a highly traditional corporate office environment.
Corporate boardroom, yeah.
Right. So for most of her life, she viewed these as totally unrelated chapters. She assumed that, interpreting a dream had absolutely nothing to do with sitting in a corporate boardroom analyzing data.
Which is completely understandable.
Yeah.
That is exactly how modern society conditions us to think about ourselves.
It is, isn't it?
Oh, totally. We are taught from a very young age to heavily categorize our identities. We build our work identity, our relationship identity, our hobby identity, and our healing identity.
But why do we do that, though? Like, why is the default human setting to build these thick mental walls between the different areas of our lives?
It mostly comes down to cognitive load and basically how our brains try to save energy.
Okay.
We are essentially cognitive misers.
Yeah.
It is evolutionarily much cheaper for your brain to develop a specific work script and a totally separate home script than it is to try and integrate your complex, emotional, multifaceted self into every single spreadsheet you fill out or every meeting you attend.
That makes a lot of sense. It's just exhausting to be your whole self all the time.
Exactly. And on top of that, industrial-era society demands specialization.
Yeah.
The market tells you to pick a lane, brand yourself, and stay in that box.
Stay in your lane.
Right. So we internalize this idea that we are just a collection of disjointed roles rather than one unified consciousness that is just navigating different environments.
I see. So when she was doing corporate work, she felt like a completely different person than when she was knitting or when she was healing.
Exactly.
But, I want to push back on this core premise for a second.
Oh, go for it.
Because I'm thinking about you listening to this right now, especially if you are feeling trapped in your current situation.
Sure.
The title of her piece is, "You Can Never Run Away From Yourself, for You Take Yourself Everywhere You Go."
Yes.
Wait, if the premise is that wherever you go, isn't that a little discouraging for you, the listener? If I move cities or change relationships to get a fresh start, are you just doomed to be the exact same person with the exact same problems? That sounds a bit hopeless.
I get that.
Yeah.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it is not hopeless at all. But I completely understand why it feels that way initially.
Yeah, it feels heavy.
It does.
Yeah.
But it requires a radical shift in how you view your own agency. It is not about being doomed to repeat your mistakes. It is about realizing that the core mechanisms of how you process the world, they do not magically change just because your zip code changes.
Right.
Once you accept that, you stop trying to run away from yourself, and you start trying to understand how your specific machinery actually works.
Okay, walk me through how that actually plays out. If I'm not running away from my flaws, what am I actually looking at?
Well, think about the fundamental ways you interact with the reality in front of you.
Like my reactions to things.
Exactly. Consider how you approach a complex, ambiguous problem, or how you offer love and support to a partner who's in distress. The highly specific tactics you use to avoid uncomfortable conversations.
Oh, we all have those.
We do. Or the kind of subtle details you notice when you're looking for beauty in a room, or how you make sense of sudden trauma. We tend to view these as separate, isolated reactions tailored to specific environments.
Because they happen in different places.
Right. But Dr. Ntsele argues that these are not disjointed abilities at all. They are your signatures.
Signatures, like an authenticating mark on a document, or a fingerprint that just gets left on absolutely everything you touch, whether you actually mean to leave it there or not.
That is the perfect way to look at it.
Yeah,
They are
it is.
consistent expressions of the exact same self, regardless of the external scenery. Let's apply this back to Dr. Ntsele's life. When she was sitting in that corporate office, she was highly likely looking for underlying structure beneath broken corporate systems, just like she did with the cosmetic bag,
Oh, I see.
right? And when she works with women dealing with severe period pains, she is looking at the pain, which is the torn fabric, and she is searching for the underlying structure of healing.
So the environment changes entirely.
Yes, from a sterile boardroom to an intimate healing space to a messy crafting table. But the person observing the environment and the specific way she processes it remains identical.
When you frame it like that, it completely shifts from feeling like a trap to feeling like a hidden superpower.
It really is.
You aren't dragging your emotional baggage everywhere. You're actually carrying a highly unique operational code everywhere you go.
Exactly.
The trick is just learning how to read the code. And that takes us directly into how she redefines this massive, deeply intimidating concept that our culture is just constantly obsessing over, which is purpose.
The modern pursuit of purpose has become incredibly frantic, hasn't it?
Frantic is the perfect word for it.
We treat purpose as if it is a hidden treasure chest buried on a remote island somewhere.
Like we just need a map.
Right. The prevailing narrative is that if we just hustle enough, or change careers enough times, or read enough self-help books, we will finally stumble upon it. We conceptualize purpose as something that exists entirely outside of us, just waiting to be found.
We absolutely do. The phrasing is literally always, I have to find my purpose. We talk about it exactly like you talk about losing your car keys.
Yes, where did I put it?
Exactly.
But Dr. Ntsele completely flips that external narrative. She suggests that because we spend so much time looking outward, at job markets and seeking external validation, we completely miss the fact that our purpose has been quietly introducing itself to us our entire lives.
It's been there the whole time.
It is not hiding on a remote island. It is hiding in plain sight, consistently woven through these ordinary, highly overlooked moments.
And she gives these fantastic, very concrete examples of where to look.
She does.
She says you have to pay attention to the things people naturally, instinctively ask you for help with. Like, what do your friends consistently call you for when things go wrong?
Such a good question.
Or, look at the complex problems you just inherently know how to solve without even needing a textbook. Or pay attention to those rare flow state moments where time just completely disappears for you. You look up from a task and suddenly 3 hours have just vanished.
I love those moments.
Same. But she argues that these are not just random quirks of your personality. These are glaring clues. And the crucial point is that they aren't pointing toward a specific job title like accountant or designer. They're pointing directly back at your core signature.
It represents a fundamental shift in inquiry. Instead of agonizing over the question, what specific job should I do? You start asking, how do I naturally operate in any given space?
Here's where it gets really interesting, because Dr. Ntsele uses a water analogy here that actually clarifies this better than any psychological jargon ever could.
Oh, this is my favorite part of the essay.
It's so good. She says, think about the nature of water. Water can become rain falling heavily from the sky. It can become a dense, freezing mist that you walk through in the morning. It can freeze solid into snow capping a mountain. Or it can rush violently through a canyon as a river.
Yeah.
Visually, tactically, those look like four completely different phenomena, but it never, ever ceases to be water.
The fundamental chemical composition, H2O,
Yeah.
it never changes. Only the outward expression of it alters, and that's dictated purely by the atmospheric environment it currently finds itself in.
Yes. So applying that to her life when she was doing corporate management or interpreting a complex dream or knitting a salvaged bag, it was like she was being snow, then rain, then a rushing river.
Exactly.
They look like different roles and disjointed chapters, but the exact same core intelligence was driving all of it. She was just water in different temperatures.
That is beautifully put.
And she summarizes this realization with a line that is honestly just pure poetry. She says, "The thread was never the wool."
The thread was never the wool. It is a profound distinction.
What does that mean to you, practically?
Well, it means that the specific material you are currently working with, the job you hold, the hobby you practice, the relationship you are navigating, that is merely the medium. It is just the wool.
Just the material.
Exactly. The actual magic, the true continuity of your life, is the invisible thread of your character that stitches all of those disparate experiences together. The thread is the unique way you weave your life.
So if the wool is just the temporary medium and the thread is our constant, unchanging core.
This raises an important question, doesn't it? How does the listener, sitting here listening to us right now, actually identify their own underlying thread?
Right.
Like, how do you figure out your fundamental water state when your current life feels chaotic or fragmented,
Yeah.
or when you feel completely disconnected from any sense of purpose?
It is the million-dollar question. Because it is one thing to hear this theory and think, wow, what a beautiful realization for Dr. Ntsele.
Sure.
But it is another thing entirely to dig through your own messy history and figure out what your specific thread actually is.
It takes work.
It does. But thankfully, she doesn't just drop a nice philosophical metaphor and leave us hanging. She bridges the gap by providing a highly practical, actionable journaling exercise in the text to help you actually uncover your signature.
And I deeply appreciate when practitioners move from theoretical frameworks to tangible applications.
Yeah.
The friction is always in the application.
Always. So let's walk through exactly how she tells you to do this. She invites you to take out a journal, get a pen, and physically draw out 4 vertical columns on a blank page.
Okay, 4 columns.
Yep. At the top of these columns, you write 4 distinct headers. The first column is work.
Got it.
The second column is relationships. The third column is childhood. And the fourth column is titled Things I Naturally Love Doing.
Now notice the deliberate spread of those categories.
Yeah, it's very broad.
It is. You are looking at your professional, structured life, your interpersonal, emotional life,
Yeah.
your historical, developmental life when you were a kid, and finally, your purely joyful, unobligated life. It is designed to be a complete, unedited cross-section of your human experience.
So what does this all mean in practice? Like, how do you actually fill these columns out without just making a boring grocery list of your past?
Right. You don't just want a list of chores.
Exactly. And Dr. Ntsele gives a very specific, crucial warning here. Do not just list your daily activities.
Yes, this is key.
If you look at your work column and you just write down, I reply to emails, I attend Zoom meetings, and I balance spreadsheets, you are entirely missing the point of the exercise.
You're just listing the wool.
Yes. You have to look beneath the surface of the activities. You have to look across all 4 of those wildly different columns and ask yourself one central, focusing question. What core quality of mine keeps appearing in every single one of these places, regardless of the context?
The friction here is that finding that common denominator, well, it requires intense honesty.
It really does.
To give some context from the text, she provides examples of what those core qualities might actually look like once you dig past the superficial activities.
Like what?
Well, maybe when you look across those columns, you realize that whether you are at the office or with your spouse, or when you were 10 years old playing in the backyard, you naturally build things.
Okay, a builder.
Or maybe you are always the one who instinctively nurtures. Perhaps you inherently restore what is broken. You might realize you always teach others, or you seamlessly connect disparate groups of people. Or you create aesthetic beauty, or you bring sharp clarity to confusing situations.
Let's actually play that out with a hypothetical example, because it really is like finding the common denominator in a massive, complicated math problem.
Let's do it.
Okay, imagine you look at your childhood column, and looking beneath the surface, you remember, oh, I was always the kid organizing the neighborhood games, making sure the rules were fair, and explaining how to play to the younger kids.
The organizer.
Right. Then you look at your work column, moving past the spreadsheets, and realize, wait, I'm the project manager who always steps in to bring clarity to chaotic, derailed client meetings.
Oh, I see where we're going.
Yeah. Then your relationship column shows that you are constantly the one mediating disputes between your friends and translating their miscommunications.
The translator.
Exactly. So suddenly you step back and realize, my thread isn't project management. My thread is bringing clarity to chaos. It has been operating everywhere, in every single phase of your life.
And discovering that is a deeply comforting, almost physiological relief.
It feels like a weight lifted.
It really does. Because what that realization ultimately means is that your life has never been asking you to fundamentally change who you are.
Wow.
It hasn't been aggressively demanding that you become someone else in order to be successful or happy. Rather, all of these different, sometimes painful situations have just been patiently introducing you to the exact person you have always been.
It takes so much pressure off the whole endeavor of living.
So much pressure.
You don't have to invent a brand new personality for a career pivot. You don't need a complete software rewrite. You just have to find the environment where your natural thread is most useful and valued.
Exactly.
And that profound realization brings us all the way back to the beginning of Dr. Ntsele's story. Back to that little repaired cosmetic bag sitting on her table.
The seemingly mundane catalyst for this entire psychological unspooling.
Yes. When she finally finished stitching that bag, replacing the torn fabric while honoring the original frame, she sat back and she just couldn't stop smiling.
I love that image.
But she clarifies in her writing that she wasn't just smiling because she had made something beautiful out of trash, even though she obviously had. She was smiling because in that specific moment, looking at this physical object she had salvaged and reimagined, she fully, truly recognized herself.
She saw her thread.
She saw the quiet, persistent thread that has run through her entire life. The unique thread that knows exactly how to gather scattered, broken pieces and weave them back into something whole and purposeful.
It is the ultimate form of self-acceptance, stripping away the illusion of fragmentation.
It really is.
Which brings us to a highly practical, powerful takeaway for you listening today. You absolutely have the agency to change jobs. You can, and honestly sometimes should, leave toxic relationships.
Definitely.
You can focus intensely on healing your physical body. You can pack up your life, move across the country, and begin again in a completely new city. But wherever you go, you take your core self with you.
You pack yourself in the suitcase.
You do. And the profound paradigm shift Dr. Ntsele offers is realizing that taking yourself with you isn't a burden. Your internal architecture isn't something you need to escape or outrun. Recognizing your own enduring nature, your own thread, is actually the greatest, most clarifying gift you will ever receive.
It really is the ultimate reframe. You are the one constant variable in the massive shifting equation of your life.
Beautifully said.
But before we completely wrap up this deep dive, I actually want to leave you with one final, slightly provocative thought to chew on this week. Yeah, something that builds directly on the mechanics of everything Dr. Ntsele just taught us about our core signatures.
I'm intrigued. Are you turning the concept on its head?
A little bit, yeah. Think about it this way. If your core signature, your natural thread, follows you everywhere and is highly active in absolutely everything you do, well, what if that exact same mechanism is also driving the things you constantly struggle with?
That is an incredibly interesting pivot. Exploring the shadow side of the signature.
Exactly, the shadow side. Let's say you sit down, you do the 4-column exercise, and you discover your core trait is restoring things.
Okay.
You inherently love fixing what is broken. It is your undisputed superpower.
Right.
But then you look at your life history and you realize you have a painful track record of staying way too long in broken, toxic relationships. Or you stay for years at a highly dysfunctional company trying to fix a culture that doesn't actually want to be fixed. You've probably spent years beating yourself up for that tendency, right? But what if your inclination to stay in those bad situations is actually just a misapplication of your greatest hidden strength?
Because the drive to restore is so deeply hardwired into your operating system that it applies itself indiscriminately, even when the situation is fundamentally unfixable and shouldn't be restored.
Yes.
It is your signature operating blindly, without any boundaries.
Exactly. Your signature wasn't failing you. It was just relentlessly trying to do its job, but it was expressing itself in the wrong environment. The software was running perfectly, but it was connected to the wrong hardware.
That is such a compassionate way to look at our own mistakes.
So take a look at your biggest recurring frustrations, your historical patterns, or, your deepest regrets this week. Ask yourself, is there a chance that my core signature isn't a flaw that needs to be fixed, but rather a beautiful, natural talent that was just desperately trying to express itself in the wrong place?